comparisons drawn to Zinedine Zidane, and we've heard that before. But what do you make of such comparisons?
It's big, but I think it's an impact, right? I mean, I never liked them because it's too early, you could say, but obviously he can deal with the pressure, can he? I mean, I don't think it's a problem for him. He probably takes that on and says, great, I want to be better than Zinedine Zidane. And the way things are going, who knows? When it's all said and done, he just may be, because what he's doing, it's incredible. Every time you're trying to look for a bit of a hole in his game or in his leadership or the ability to take that pressure on, because I mean, let's face it. I mean, he is the player that's running. He's the player that's running Real Madrid. I mean, it's not Toni Kroos. He's wonderful. And of course, he does in a different way in terms of the rhythm and all that. But even as I say that, I don't know if that's the case. I think Vinny does it in a different way, but it's ultimately down to Jude Bellingham. And he shows up not just in every game, but on every play. I was thinking the other day, there's so much talk about Real Madrid needing a number 9. He's their number 9. And you know what? Even though that's not his best position, and ultimately they may get somebody in that, and he's going to thrive, he's going to be playing deeper, and he's going to be a great player regardless. But if they never in the next 2 or 3 years didn't get it, I think he's becoming a true number. He really is. I don't know, call him, 9.5. I don't know if that's a good.
But can you imagine if he'd scored that bicycle kick, Janusz?
It's just incredible, right? Because he is a true goal scorer. We just kind of we tiptoe around that as well. But he's dangerous on every play, and every play I almost imagine him scoring. And by the way, when you watch it closely, he's either scores or almost scores on just about every play, if not every other play. So part of me's thinking is that maybe they, because there's so much talk about Haaland, there's so much talk about Kylian Mbappe, there's so much talk about FFP and how much money can be spent here, there, and everywhere. I think there may be a time where Real Madrid is going to say, do we really need to spend that kind of money when we have players like Vinny who can score, when we have players like Rodrigo who can score, when we have Bellingham who thrives in that position, when you have Joselu who comes in and score goals, right? Yes, perhaps it would be more well-balanced team if they did get a number 9. But I'm almost wondering if it's worth the money that is being talked about. Because for me, he's as good as many number 9s out there.
Okay, so as for that game, they say for Madrid, así gana el Madrid. Basically, this is the way that Madrid win. And the Madrid fans will say that because it's a comeback win and it's a late winner and everybody goes crazy. And the opposing fans, the Almeria fans, will say that because they'll say that referee decisions went their way. And there were 3 contentious VAR decisions. Where do you stand on it?
Well, yeah, you have to look first. You probably saw me, talk a little bit yesterday about that. I think Real Madrid would have found a way to win that game anyway. I mean, the way it was going, they were just good enough. I know it was 2-0, but there's without any of this, I think Real Madrid wins that game. But okay, so what was the first one? Penalty?
So, yeah, there was. So, first of all, yeah, you've got the penalty after Kaiki was adjudged to have handballed.
Not nonsense. Never a penalty in a million years. If you watch this, I mean, he was going for the ball defensively the way you should, push in the back, which, of course, as we all know, get your arms up a little bit. Absolutely horrendous decision. And I hope that everybody understands that. Second one, Jude Bellingham.
Well, also you had Sergio Ribas, where there was that 3-minute VAR check, because Loppi had caught Bellingham and fouled him in the center of the park, and then they'd gone on.
I would have let that go. That to me, I would have let that go. Not one for me. I'm hearing. They've been calling that in LaLiga all season. They've been consistent. Okay, I'll take your word for it. If it's that, I don't like it. There's nothing to it, and there was hardly a touch there. And for me, that's not a foul.
And then the Vinny handball.
Look, I've watched this a million times right now, and with every angle, I don't know anymore. At first, I thought it was a handball. I'm starting to doubt that a little bit right now. When I've seen it a million times right now, I don't know if it was a handball.
All right. So you can argue it either way, you're saying? the whole
Yeah,
game.
you can, that's, but I haven't seen an absolutely perfect angle, and we get influenced by these referees. Don't have the time for it. I think it was just above, by the laws of the game, was just above. Yes, there was a motion towards it, but I've scored in training, a couple of times, one of these where it wasn't a handball, but in training. The first two, Real Madrid gets lucky. On this one, my gut feeling from the beginning, by the way, the very first one, I did not think it was. Then, I saw the replays, like, oh my God, it's a handball. But ultimately, I don't think it was.
All right, let's talk about Girona, because they're going toe-to-toe with Real Madrid in more ways than one. You mentioned Bellingham as the top scorer. Dovbik's got as many goals as him, their Ukrainian striker. Girona are not going anywhere, Janusz.
No, they're not. What a story they are. Absolutely love it. I'm sure the Manchester City group loves it as well. I mean, they have a net everywhere now. NYCFC winning MLS in the last few years. Melbourne City FC, I think, has won it again. And Girona now is, wow, what a story that would have been. I mean, just absolutely beautiful way of playing. I think they're staying within their philosophy in the organization right now. I wonder if Pep Guardiola is just looking over a couple of players on that team, thinking to himself, well, maybe it's time for at least one, maybe two, to move to the city of Manchester. Absolutely outstanding.
Let me talk about two of the other teams then. Atleti obviously have just had that big win in the Copa del Rey over Real Madrid. They're 11 points, but one game behind Girona. Are they actually even in the title race?
I mean, it's harder, right? I mean, there's some big games in February, right? Speaking of Girona, we'll find out, by the way, because Real Madrid's playing against Atleti, and I think the week after they're playing Girona. Both games in Madrid. If Real Madrid wins those two games, I think they run away and win it. I still think Real Madrid are favorites to win it all. I mean, it would be a great story for Girona, I suppose, but I don't know if they can sustain that for the rest of the season. Look, this is a different Atleti. This is one that I like. What Morata and Griezmann are doing are incredible. That is a story in itself for me, right? I have a soft spot for Cholo Simeone. I think the longevity and the sort of a manager he is, and how much he's gotten out of Morata and Griezmann, who, like João Felix, left, went to Barcelona, came back. One wonders what would have happened if he stayed. I almost want to say the same thing about João Felix, because I think ultimately that's his place. He's just going to man up a little bit, and he's got one of the greatest managers that I think can show him the way how to stay consistent.
Well, João Felix obviously had a big, important goal for Barcelona at the weekend, and there had been talk about whether he would be, moving on and not staying around at Barcelona. But did he just change the way that they're going to see him with that goal?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, again, so inconsistent, right? You thought after a start that he was going to go from strength to strength. I mean, it's crazy to think how Barcelona would even keep him. I mean, financially, I don't think they're capable of doing it. So he can definitely help them, but he's been as inconsistent as ever, right? I mean, everywhere he's gone, be it Atletico Madrid or Chelsea or Barcelona. So there's something. I mean, maybe he's most consistent for Portugal, I suppose. But one player that in a way I'm disappointed, but I still believe that if he changes his mentality, and let's face it, I mean, as I said, he's got a manager. If he comes back to Atleti, which I think he will or he should, just listen to your manager, and he'll find a way to make you better.
And everything will be okay. But let's go deeper a little bit on Barcelona if we can. Is Xavi the manager you expected him to be?
No, but I never expected Barcelona to be as they are, right? I mean, that is an unbelievable fall from grace for a club like this to be in a financial situation like this, where all the players seem to be getting worse. I mean, that's the story, right? When you go to Barcelona, that's a dream. Everybody always says that, no matter where you play, if Barcelona or Real Madrid call, you have to go. And yet you have players that, come to Barcelona, and it's hard to think at the moment who are the players that are getting better right now? Because, you know, I look at Robert Lewandowski, right? I look at Frankie de Jong. I look at Ronald Araujo, another player who, wow, was incredible last year. I mean, where is he? Where's Kunde? I mean, remember a couple windows ago, everybody wanted Kunde on their team. Everybody in Europe. Oh, my goodness, can play right back, can play center back. And I don't know anymore. I mean, we could go on and on and on. And it makes you wonder, is it just Xavi? You know, maybe it is too early. Maybe he's still learning as he's going. He's a young manager, I suppose. Got a lot of young players who he's bringing up. But I think everybody around him is not helping him. And in fact, they're failing Xavi and the club. I just think the whole situation is a mess. I never thought that Barcelona financially are going to be where they are.
Let's talk about Frankie de Jong. It's his 5 years coming up at Barcelona. What have you made of those 5 years? Because there's been a lot of talk from Xavi lately about, he was asked if you'd had Frankie, Pedri and Gundogan all together, all fit all season, would things be different? And he said, yeah, they would be different. Maybe not in terms of results, but I would definitely be having more my style of play on the pitch.
Yeah, I mean, I still believe in Frankie de Jong. He hasn't gotten better, but I mean, I feel for him, right? I mean, okay, if you had Frankie a whole year, I mean, this is the Barcelona team that was begging him to leave. I mean, they wanted to sell him because they had to, right? I mean, they owed him money. You know, they had to take a pay cut. A lot of players took a pay cut. I don't know if he's gotten paid back.
Well, Janusz, was that more down to circumstance because Zidane wanted to leave because you needed to bring money in and you needed to free up money? It was more that your hands were tied. As a player, you'd have rather kept it. Well,
sure, but as a player, you never wanted to hear it, right? If I'm Frankie de Jong and they wanted him so badly and he was, in a way, a perfect fit, I would have been, if I was there, I'd probably leave him as one of the last players that I want to get rid of. I understand value, but I try to get rid of 3 or 4 players before I even mention the name of Frankie de Jong. That's what I would do because he's an elite central midfielder. That's not going to change. Yes, he's not playing to his potential, and that's part of the injuries, maybe some of the things that I've been saying. But positionally, I mean, he's been thrown around everywhere. That's not necessarily new to him because if you remember at Ajax, I remember him playing at center back. Although I think at Barcelona he's played a couple games there as well. But I mean. At times, he's being asked to do what Busquets has done, and that's not necessarily his thing, right? I mean, he's capable of doing it, but not to a degree that Busquets had done. So I feel for him. I still think there's a player there, but I mean, I think it's hard. Maybe I'm making too many excuses, and I don't think he's been the worst. Let's put it that way.
They are 8 points behind Girona. They played a game less. They're 7 behind Real Madrid. They played the same amount of games. Are Barcelona in it?
No, they're not. It's just not. That's not going to happen. It's just Real Madrid are a much better team. Let's not forget the head-to-head situation that's going to come into play as well. So this is at a level right now that too many players are underperforming. Barcelona can't fix a lot of their problems in the market. So nothing's going to change in terms of that. And if you look at Real Madrid, just going from strength to strength, they still have a couple players to recover. When you look at the quality and depth of squad, it's not going to happen. I mean, you're talking about Girona being more of a Barcelona than Barcelona themselves, right? I mean, I enjoy watching Girona much more than I enjoy watching Barcelona.